Okay, so what have we got here? My shim washers arrived. Now, for anyone that didn't watch the previous videos, these are precision ground um, steel shims to high tolerances, and the idea was to make my own toy with a large amount of inductance. This is a 3D printed thing that holds them all. Move them out of the way a minute. Oh, actually, I need something to elevate them on. Oh, maybe you can see if I just tip them up. Well, no, I'll just move this over here a bit. Right. So, my shim washers are stuck in here. That's my 3D printed holder to put them all in. And then I can wind my coil around the holder, you see, once they're all in there. I've also made some spacers because I don't need to have a solid piece of iron, but I've got to weigh actually. Now let's check the weight of that because I think there's 25 there. So actually, the easiest way to do it, I've got my scale here. I think the easiest way to do this, move that over there a little bit, so it's a little bit out of camera. Right, see, let's just see how much this holder weighs. The holder is actually 2 grams, so I can subtract 2 grams. Or I could just reset it. Actually, I'll just press the reset so it's zeroed it out. Put my shims back in, and I will weigh my shims, and they actually weigh 26.9 grams. Well, that's actually 27 grams, right? So yeah, 27 grams. Well, if I can get 100 millihenries from these things without having to use a massive choke like transformer thing like this, it will be great because it means I can mount these things directly on my circuit board. So the idea is ultimately to mount them on the circuit board. Oh, you can't see it because I've blocked the view. So there's my circuit board. So I'd basically mount them instead of these toroids here, which you can see. I would use these larger ones, and then I wind my coil around through the hole, and I've made my plastic coil winder which goes through the middle like this if I put the wire on it, so I can thread my wire through the hole. So it's an economic way of designing my own inductors without having to mess around with buying chokes. They're not cheap though, but I got 100 of these shims, and they're 0.5 millimeters thick. So let's just see if I can take one out. I'll take a few out actually because they stick together a bit. They've got oil on, so they're very thin, and so they're basically laminations in effect. And because they're technically not steel washers, they're shims. They're very accurate, and they're also very flat, which is great for coupling. And I can put plastic spacers in between every other one. So I've actually printed some plastic spacers, which, let me just grab one. Right, here's a spacer I printed. It's the same dimensions, so the idea would be to have a steel shim, a plastic spacer to insulate each one so we don't get any inductive shorts, then another steel shim, a plastic spacer, and so on and so on. So you get the idea. And then I could gauge or tune the actual shims to get the right inductance that I want. Then I won't have to vary the size very much. I can use the same amount of wire, but I could vary the amount of inductance on there. But there's a problem. Once the wire's wound on there, you can't easily take the shims out because the wire's wrapped around them. So it's I'll be doing a test wind, so I'm probably going to do something like wind 100 turns of wire or something, and I'm probably going to use steel shim plus plastic spacer and so on and so on, and fill the actual assembly, and I'm going to measure it and work out and see how many millihenries it is, and then I can get a rough idea how many I need. Well, I need more steel or less steel or whatever. Or yeah, I'll try and keep the wire constant because you can only really wind so much wire on these things. But you get the idea. So I printed a load of these plastic ones, the spacers. They're very thin, as you can see. They're very, very bendy. It's just to give me insulation, really, to space them out. I printed 25 of those out, so there's 25 shims in each one of these things as well. So they're not too expensive, and I suppose economically it's I don't know if it's economical really to use these versus a toroidal core that you can get from China, but a toroidal core is, you get what you pay for and that's it. You can't really adjust the core material, which is a problem. So I want to be able to adjust the core material, and with these you can, because I can remove some and add some and so on. So it's much more practical. Fine tuning my coil assembly. So I just thought I'd do that little video just to show you them. And I've got another 75 in this bag. So anyway, obviously I could have used steel washers. The only problem with steel washers is the hole size. With a hole size that might be too small or there might be too larger steel around the outside. These have a very about 2.5 millimeter thickness on the steel around, horizontally. They're actually 0.5 millimeters thick, I mean, but there's 2.5 millimeters between the inside diameter and the outside diameter, so that gives me a lot more room to wind wires through the middle than what you would get if I use a steel washer. I mean, for example, this steel washer has got a tiny hole and it's not really any good. And I've also got these really big steel washers and the hole's too small. So yeah, it saves drilling holes out because the you can get them to a specific size. I mean, these are M16s. So M16s by 22 millimeters. Yeah. Well, I mean, I might go for a larger size. I don't know. At some point, we'll see. It depends on how well these work when I get the coils wound. Okay, that's all for now. Just not much else to do. I did make an update to my generator. I took the middle bearing out again, but this time I put some collars between each rotor assembly to stiffen them up, and it seems to solve the problem of the oscillation on the drive shaft. It's like a collar that goes between each rotor with a little T piece, like a T shape, so the part goes in the middle in between the rotors to keep them pushed together tightly, and it kind of holds everything together. I used some glue to glue them on. I didn't video that, so no worries. I can show you that sometime if I take the thing out in the future. But anyway, I think I solved the problem with the rotor assembly vibrating, and yeah, it's quieting it down a lot, so it seems to be working. Anyway, that's it for now.